Hello, good evening, and you are very welcome to the beginning of a club football championship season like no other here in Mayo and indeed right across the country. It is a brand new club championship season here on Mayo GAA TV in a whole new world, of course. The 2020 GAA season being played out against the surreal backdrop of COVID-19 and the race for the Moclair, Sweeney and McDonald Cups being run over the course of the next 7 weeks, beginning this weekend, but of course unlike any we've come to experience down through the years. You are welcome to Father O'Hara Park here in Charlestown for the first leg of our double header of live club championship action here on Mayo GAA TV this evening. Coming up a little later at 7 o'clock live from Clogher, it is the county champions Ballintubber against one of many pretenders to their throne, Ahamore. So if you are with us now, make yourself comfortable, sit back and relax, because for the next 2 or 3 hours we have a jam-packed schedule for you, with of course tomorrow afternoon more live action from the Connacht Gold Mayo Senior Club Football Championship as Brafey take on Westport in Brafey, throw in at 4 o'clock. That of course the second game in what has become known already as the Group of Death in the County Senior Club Championship this season. And the first game in that group will unfold here in Charlestown very, very shortly as Castlebar Mitchels make the fairly short journey out the road on what has turned out to be a pretty wet and miserable Saturday evening to kick off this year's blue ribbon competition in the Mayo Senior Club Football Championship. Charlestown Sarsfields out on the field warming up. Mitchels have taken the warm-up area at the far end of the field, and the countdown is on to throw in. 5 o'clock sharp, referee Vincent Neary from Bonnyconlon will be getting the action underway, but plenty of time for us to set the scene for you in the company this evening of Colum Gannon of the Mayo Advertiser, Kevin Duignan from Charlestown Sarsfields. But first we're going to hear from our co-commentator, our match analyst Declan O'Reilly, who of course will be known to most of our viewers as the former Castlebar Mitchels footballer and manager, also former Mayo minor football manager, and of course had a stint as well with Brafey, leading them to a county senior final in the not too distant past. And Declan, many moons ago you played here in Charlestown, the 1988 county final, and you were telling me as you came through the gate a little earlier, the memories came flooding back. Yeah,
Stephen Healy just reminded me of that, Mike, as I came in the gate. Yeah, he said we had a couple of good days here, which we have. And one of the memories certainly goes back with the Castlebar Mitchels was 1988. We played in a county final, senior final replay. We played against Crossmolina at that time, and I forget the score line. I know we came out the right side of it. It was a good memory. We'd won in 86. We bet them in 86. We'd lost to Ballina in 87, and then 1988 we drew with Crossmolina in Ballina, and the replay took place here in Charlestown. Yeah, good day.
Dick, before we talk about the lineups and the likely way this game might pan out, we first of all, of course, have to talk about government guidelines and public health restrictions, which impacts hugely on all outdoor events, but particularly at this time of the year it impacts on the likes of GAA fixtures like this. Just 200 people allowed inside the environs of Father O'Hara Park, everything being run very smoothly and efficiently by the host club here in Charlestown. But no doubt about it, it is very inconvenient, to put it mildly, for so many people from Charlestown and Castlebar who would like to be here, but rules are rules. But there's no doubt about it, it is going to create a very unusual backdrop to a big championship match like this.
Yeah, it certainly is, Mike, but look, at public health advice has to come first and foremost. There's no We follow the guidelines, we follow them from NEFA and from the government, and they clearly state that there's 200 people allowed at the outdoor events. It really is inconvenient, and for me, I would like to see it done on a case-by-case, I suppose, basis, where you could look at the grounds and you see, could you socially distance more people in? But we don't have that choice. It's up to us now to follow the guidelines. I suppose the tickets and being here like this is a bit like the golden ticket in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, because people are really, really hungry for football now, in particular the year that's in it, Mike. Particular, I suppose, in the last 4 months where everybody has been starved of football and normal activity as life as we know it here in Mayo, and in particular in the GAA circle. So it's great to get out, it's great to see some football. We've had some Michael Welch games and they've quite had the appetite, but everybody I think associated with football knows the championship is where it's at. This is day number 1. this is weekend number one. There are loads of fixtures around the county. People are really looking forward to getting to them. The difficulty is, as you've rightly said, it's only 200 per game, so that's going to really restrict things. I'm sure it must create a lot of headaches for the administration side of things in Mayo County Board and in the likes of the Castlebar Mitchels and the likes of Charlestown Sarsfields, who are going to hand out these tickets. So they're going to see, I suppose, a bit of disappointment for some people, and it might cause hassle that they didn't really expect.
Well, Declan has teed that up quite nicely for me, because what better time to bring in Kevin Duignan from Charlestown Sarsfields GAA Club. Again, he'll be known to many of our viewers as a former teak tough wing back / corner back. I think the longer the career went on, Daigo was moving around that defence trying to find the best spot. But Daigo, what's it been like in Charlestown these last few days, and indeed these last few hours as well, just trying to get everything ready to host a club championship game against, as we said, that backdrop of having to confine it to 50, maybe 60 club members?
Not even that. I think at the end of it, we ended up with 31 tickets to try and distribute amongst members, players, families. So I'm sure we're not on the good list for some of the people, but hopefully they'll be able to watch it on Mayo GAA TV, and that's what I'd like to give a shout out to all our supporters down the town and all over the world. I know there's people watching in Australia, New York and places like that, and I suppose it's an emotional day for the club in general. We see the number 11 jersey hanging down there in memory of our good friend Colum Harkin. On any given day he'd be over there watching behind the goals, and it's a big day for the club. Hopefully the players react to the occasion.
Yeah, of course, mention of Colum Harkin, so sadly missed, and a lovely gesture before the game here. There's a beautiful memorial behind the goal away to our left, the town goal, and before the game a presentation made by the chairman of Castlebar Mitchels GAA Club, Paddy Mahan, to the chairman of Charlestown Sarsfields, Liam Breheny. And I know it's something that has been done on a number of occasions by visiting clubs over the last few weeks. Tomorrow as well will be a very poignant occasion here in Charlestown and here at the local GAA pitch when Colum's Month's Mind Mass is held. And I know the gesture, Kevin, of retiring the number 11 jersey this season as a mark of respect to Colum Harkin and the Harkin family, it is something that has meant an awful lot to an awful lot of people. And as we look at it hanging there on the side of the fence, it really does bring it all back home. It has been a very difficult time for a lot of people in this part of the world.
100%, Mike. That was one of the easier decisions. Colum was a legend in this club on and off the field. When he played, he never took a step back, and hopefully today Charlestown are going to take a step forward and attack this Castlebar team. The last 7 or 8 weeks, the whole community still getting to terms with what happened. Tomorrow, as you said, is a big day for our club. We've Colum's Month's Mind here, so in general, the whole weekend, it's an emotional weekend for everyone involved.
Well, Kevin, thank you very much for taking the time out to join us. Kevin Duignan, who is very busy here this evening, working with all his colleagues in Charlestown Sarsfields GAA Club. We appreciate him taking the time out to talk to us and remembering his late colleague Colum Harkin beautifully there. And in just a couple of moments we will all remember Colum again. He will be remembered with a moment's silence before the game begins, as throw-in gets closer and closer. And Declan O'Reilly, with throw-in getting closer, we're still none the wiser, I think, officially about the Castlebar Mitchels lineup. But before we talk about that, let's pause for that moment's silence in memory of the late Colum Harkin. You could have heard a pin drop here at Father O'Hara Park as we stood to remember Colum Harkin. And as we mentioned a few moments ago, Colum's month's mind being held here at Father O'Hara Park tomorrow. So it is a very emotional weekend for so many people as we stand again for our own Navian. Well, that was a fine, rousing rendition of the national anthem. Declan, I was just going to mention to you before we got started, we have the Charlestown team. They have made a couple of changes to their starting 15. Kenneth Brennan starts in goal, a tactical change with Paul Mulligan dropping out, and Jack Mahan is in at corner forward in place of Colum May. That's the two changes from the programme. But Castlebar Mitchels and their manager Alan Flynn keeping their cards very close to their chest this evening.
Yeah, and rumours were abound that the 15 he had named was not the 15 that's going to be starting, but the personnel are the same on the pitch, Michael. I'd expect we'll have a few provisional changes. I see, for instance, already that James Durkin has started the full forward. That could be significant.
So away we go. Our referee Vinnie Neary from Bonnyconlon, the former county secretary, gets us underway. Mitchels playing in this first half from right to left down towards the town goal here at Father O'Hara Park. It made a couple of biblical showers of rain about an hour ago that has made the underfoot conditions very, very slippy, and with the cool camps taking place here as well during the week, Father O'Hara Park has got plenty of action in the last 7 days as the home side go along with the first delivery. Here's Paul Towie trying to chip lift that ball on the run and turn away from Donny Newcombe. Towie can move, Towie can play, and Charlestown out in front after 45 seconds. Paul Towie, who caught the eye with the Mayo under-20s earlier this year. He has been scoring for fun in the Michael Welsh these last few weeks, and he opens the home side's account inside a minute.
Yeah, but he's a class act, I think. Paul Towie, even though young and he's under-20, he's caught the eye the last couple of years. It was a one-on-one with Donny Newcombe. He got it, turned on to his left, put it over the bar. Great score.
Great start for Charlestown. Of course, this is a first glimpse for all of us of the Mitchells in the flesh. They have not been playing in the Michael Welsh Secondary Senior League these last few weeks. Alan Flynn instead opting to hit the challenge game circuit around the province. The Mitchells intermediate team instead lining out in the Michael Welsh Senior League. And everybody waiting, Declan O'Reilly, with bated breath to see what Mitchells are like, how they're shaping up, because they have been wrapped up and kept out of sight these last few weeks.
They have, and the new management team headed by Alan Flynn, I suppose the vibe around the club has been very good. If you look back over the last couple of years, it's been somewhat disappointing for Castlebar Mitchels. Alan Flynn so far, I know that the players like what he's doing, but the test only starts now, Mike, so like you, we're all waiting.
I mentioned about the rain, another heavy shower falling as Paddy Durkin cuts through, and the county man, the all-star Paddy Durkin, kicks the equaliser after 2 minutes. He is wearing number 9. Going by the match programme, he's alongside Danny Kirby in the middle of the field for Castlebar Mitchels. That puts them up against Tom Parsons and Jack Riley on the Charlestown side. Sides level after 2 minutes, and that's what Paddy Durkin is so good at, Dick.
Yeah, but I think he's playing as a half-back, Mike. If you look at it there, I think he's picking up, I can see straight away there, he's picking up Matthew Lennon. I'm pretty sure he's playing at the half-back line.
Just when things settle down, we'll fill you in on who exactly is where. Alan Flynn, as we expected, he has sprung a few surprises for Charlestown as Mitchell's create a goal chance, and in it goes. It's Ethan Gibbons who beats Kenneth Brennan after 2.5 minutes. Ethan Gibbons, we're pretty sure, starting his first ever senior club championship game this evening. And if that is correct, well, what a way to mark your debut with your first championship goal inside 3 minutes.
Yeah, now Ethan is 21, 22 years of age, but he's been on the scene for a while, and we played him a couple of years back, not in the championship, because he picked up 2 horrific injuries over the last 2 years, a bad knee injury and a bad shoulder injury. He's worked extremely hard to get himself back into it, and the word has been that he's been going very well in training. And as you can see from his opening gambit there, Mike, he took the ball, there was one thing on his mind, he dropped that shoulder, he headed for goal, and he finished spectacularly. A great goal and a great start for Ethan and for the Mitchells.
Viewers of a certain age will remember Ethan Gibbons' dad, Russell, an outstanding full-back for Mayo at minor and under 21 level, and indeed the Mitchells as well. Well, we're all getting a little older because Russell's son Ethan has just crashed in a goal here for Castlebar to put them out in front, but the rain is falling in sheets now. That's a torrential shower that is soaking every inch of Father O'Hara Park, and the lucky 100 or so souls that are in here in the stand in front of us, well, they are thanking their lucky stars that they got seats and that they are under cover. As Mitchells come again, trying to work the ball up through the line slowly and surely. Ball is in the hands there of the goal scorer, Ethan Gibbons, fed inside to James Durkin. He's got Conor O'Donoghue for company. Loose man is Conor Stenson. Played really well for the Mitchells intermediates a couple of weeks ago down in Cong against the Neil. This is Gavin Durkin trying to twist and turn and make an angle, and that shot is away to the right and wide, but it has been a very confident start, Declan, by the Mitchells.
Yeah, it's been positive, and in fairness to Alan Flynn, he's gone with the young fellas as well, the likes of Gavin Durkin, Conor Stenson and Ethan Gibbons. I suppose it's a new look team, and it's exciting for everybody associated with the club to see what they can do.
Kick out from Kenneth Brennan, finds its target. That was the county man, Tom Parsons, touched it down. Now Jack Riley just feigns to go one way, then checks the other. That gives him some time and space, gets his head up and goes long. He's looking for the big full forward, Patrick Lenihan. Up there in support is Paul Towie, and between the two of them they manage to make it stick as in comes Owen O'Reilly, who charges into the back of the Charlestown man. And that is going to be a free in to Charlestown, which they take quickly, but it was too quickly. Although Lenihan's managed to make the best of not the most promising of situations, but just as he won that ball back, his pocket picked, and it's Paddy Durkin foul as he tried to come out with that ball, free to the Mitchells. Just looking around at the flags here, doesn't seem to be any wind, any strong breeze favouring one side or the other, as Charlestown try to put Castlebar under pressure and make it hard for them to come out of their own half. This is Danny Kirby, man who scored the 4 goals for Mayo in the FBD League a few years back. Kirby gave the pass, takes the return, but there was a foul on the goal scorer Ethan Gibbons, free to Castlebar Mitchels. As we mentioned earlier, they have been touring around Connacht these last few weeks, playing challenge matches against the likes of Clonagale in Roscommon, Salthill Knocknacarra in Galway, fine-tuning their preparations for this first round in what has become known as the Group of Death in the Senior Club Championship. Brafey and Westport also packed in what is by some distance the most competitive looking of the Senior Championship groups on paper. Ball is played out to this near side to Gerald McLaughlin. Man who comes out here to take the short pass is Jack Mahan. Now Tom Parsons. Gareth O'Donnell. Parsons again. And the loose man away over on the far side is Conor O'Donoghue. Castlebar Mitchels, by the looks of things, getting ready to make a change. Number 18, Callum Kine, is warming up in front of us. Not quite sure if somebody has an issue, Dick.
I think it could be Neil Douglas. Could be a touch of a hamstring, maybe. He looked like he was only going at half pace there. I saw him over talking to one of the management team. We'll watch for that change, Mike.
Charlestown's attack breaks down. Castlebar Mitchels try and hit them on the swift counter-attack, and James Durkin uses his pace to win the ball, win the free, and as we flagged a moment ago, now that change is being made. A little early in the day for Alan Flynn to have to run his bench, but left with no option. I think Neil Douglas has an issue. Now he is running off fairly freely, but with round 2 coming up next weekend, Flynn and Mitchells and indeed Neil Douglas not taking any chances.
No, and I'd say it's precautionary. There was a rumour, all right, that he wasn't at full tilt, and I'd say he gave it a go to see what it was like. He obviously wasn't that happy with it, so they've made that change. Now, I suppose if you look back at the Mitchells over the last number of years, one of the main criticisms that people would have had, that's a wide ball. One of the main criticisms that people would have had is that too many scores have come from Neil Douglas, that the distribution hasn't been spread out evenly enough, but they have no choice now. Dougie's gone off the pitch, so it's up to the other forwards to stand up and see what they can do.
Just looking at the way Mitchells are lining up for that kick out, it was a full forward line of James Durkin, Philip Ruddy and Callum Kine.
Yes.
That's the way they were fanned out in front of Kenneth Brennan, but as we know from watching Alan Flynn manage and coach teams over the years, he tends to keep chopping and changing things. He will keep Charlestown guessing, and he will keep that Sarsfields backline on their toes, as the man who's trying to come out with that ball is Niall Murphy, but just left the solo a little high, a little loose, and that allows a couple of Mitchell's men in. One of them is Gavin Durkin, big strong man Gavin Durkin, former Mayo under-20 midfielder and captain, if memory serves me correct. He's won a free and he takes it himself. And short, Donny Vaughan, wearing number 3 but creeping forward. This, by the way, Donny Vaughan's first game of competitive football since last year's county semi-final defeat to Ballahadreen way back at the beginning of last October.
Yeah, he's playing midfield, Mike. Himself and Conor Stenson in midfield for the Mitchells now.
Very difficult for either side to make that ball stick up front in what are extremely difficult working conditions here in Charlestown. It is like a winter's day. We've played 10 minutes almost in the first half. Mitchell's lead by that Ethan Gibbons goal, and both teams trying their best to get things going in front of this very small crowd of in and around 100 people, as Paul Towie again is the go-to man. Once more he's been fouled, and this will present Charlestown with a shot at goal. But no doubt about who the go-to man is, Declan, in that Charlestown full forward line.
Yeah, it's all over. It's Paul Towie all the way. I was just looking and see who was picking him up, and for maybe 8 of the 9 minutes it's been Donal Newcombe, but I've seen Owen Riley has switched on him as well. Donal Newcombe looks like the man that's most suited to marking him, but Towie is a handful. I would rate him very highly. I think he's a class act.
So Paul Towie, the man who was fouled, and he will also kick the free. Strikes it cleanly, but just pulls it across the face of the goal and wide. But the pictures go some way, Declan, towards telling the story of how bad the weather is here right now. But you wouldn't envy Paul Towie or any other free taker for that matter.
No, and I see the footing was the problem there. It didn't actually look. I thought he might have kicked it out of the hands, because the underfoot conditions are very, very difficult. The rain is absolutely bucketing down. It's torrential rain.
Charlestown possession. Again, it's Patrick Lenihan who drifts out from the edge of the square. Support arrives from Jack Mahan, trying to come in along that end line. A couple of Mitchell's defenders got around him very quickly. Jack Mahan has managed to win a free. Much better from Charlestown.
Very good from Jack Mahan. Jack Mahan played as a half-back, I'm nearly sure, against Ballintubber last week, but I would have seen Jack playing for the Mayo under-20s earlier this year and for the under-17s a couple of years ago. He really looks like he's developed well. Showed a great turn of pace there, took on Rio O'Malley and got us free. Yeah, and both points again from Towie. But Jack Mahan did well there. He looks like a handful. Good young player.
Managed to get out in front, turns, shoots just wide. He's extremely good at managing to get out in front of his man.
He is, but he'll be disappointed with that result, Mike, as he got the ball in front of Donal Newcombe where he wanted. He turned on to his right, he shot, and he's had 2 shots now, 4 shots, 2 scores, 2 wides.
Short kick out from Rory Byrne, Donny Newcombe, and now Donny Vaughan has the strength to hold off Parsons. Pressure then comes on from Matthew Lenihan.
A free of a soft variety. Looks like Parsons and Vaughan are squaring up to each other.
Free taken by Paddy Durkin, right down the centre of that Charlestown defence. Brennan thought about coming. Instead, across to cover came Aidan Hopkins, and the ball played back to Niall Murphy, and he gets it away as far as Ryan Duffy, as Charlestown in their own time try to clear their lines. Ryan Duffy sees some space and decides to run into it. Jack Riley just comes short. He's been quiet in this first quarter. Jack Riley started like a house on fire down in Clogher last weekend against Ballintubber. Kicked a couple of spectacular points, but he has his hands full tracking and chasing back at the moment as Charlestown go long in towards the big full forward, in towards Patrick Lenihan. Lenihan, I think, felt he was fouled. Vinnie Neary played, let it develop.
I think he was looking for a mark, but that was from a free, so there is no mark.
Charlestown leave empty-handed as Donny Vaughan solos and then lets it in long. In towards the edge of the square again. Man coming across underneath it there was Ethan Gibbons. Nothing doing. Ball just tantalisingly travelling over his fingers, and away go Charlestown again. Double scores. 14 minutes gone here at Father O'Hara Park. Mitchels, who haven't beaten Charlestown in the championship since 2011. They lead by a couple of points. Another long delivery, grabbed by Towie. He did brilliantly there to win that ball. He's claimed the mark. It has been given by Vinnie Neary. Towie, I think, for a moment there, had a decision to make. Did really well to claim that ball in front of Owen O'Reilly, who is no slouch. Owen O'Reilly, one of the best man markers in club football in the county. Towie with the mark, and I think he's going to have to maybe bring it back, or is he? Vinnie Neary is taking care of a bit of housekeeping. He wants a word with one of the Castlebar Mitchels backs before we can go any further, and it is a black card for the Castlebar Mitchels man.
John Lawless, I think, is it? Yeah,
I think it could be right. It is John Lawless, the man who transferred to the Mitchells from Nafiana during the off season. He's a former Tuam Stars club footballer. He and Alan Flynn would know each other well from their days together with the Stars, and John Lawless, for something that happened off the ball, has been shown a black card, and the score from Towie will stand. So that makes it 1-1 to 3 points now. It's a 1 point game, 15 minutes gone, and John Lawless sent to the bin.
he did, and I think it looked like he was manhandling one of the fellas there, and there seemed to be two fellas there, but the referee, Vincent Neary, obviously had to look out the corner of his eye, saw him doing it, and deemed it to be a black card. Towie inside is doing all the damage. He's got the 3 points. As I mentioned before, sometimes Owen Riley picked him up and sometimes it's Tony Newcombe. It ended up with Owen Riley that time, but as you said, he snuck inside him, got the ball, and he'd an eye for a goal, only for Riley fouled him.
Yeah, right now Charlestown playing a two-man full forward line of Patrick Lenihan and Paul Towie. Mitchels with no sweeper or anything like it, as Jack Riley again lets it in long. They're feeding Towie and Lenihan. Nice knockdown. Towie has it. Towie shoots. Oh, brilliantly saved on the line. Owen O'Reilly threw himself through the air. The ball, the break falls to Charlestown. Chance of a score, and over it goes. Paddy Goldrick, the centre forward, clips the point, and the sides are level. And after a slow start now, Charlestown have got their second wind.
In fairness, Charlestown, since Mitchell's got the goal, it's all been Charlestown. Castlebar haven't pushed on at all. Credit to Charlestown. They're commanding this game at the moment, winning that middle third, and their two-man full forward line is working really sweet for them.
So 4 points for Charlestown, 3 for Paul Towie, 1 for Paddy Goldrick. Sides all square. 16 and a half minutes gone as Mitchells try and break before Charlestown get a chance to reset. That looked like Donny Newcombe, who fires in the snapshot across the face of the goal and away and wide. Well, it's been a cracking game so far. Almost 17 minutes gone, and right now Castlebar Mitchels a man down with John Lawless in the sin bin.
If we just look at the structure of the way it's set about there, Mike, all the space seems to be in the Castlebar full back line, which is exactly what Charlestown will want. I don't see any cover there from in any defensive type of way from Castlebar, so once that ball goes in, there's a real scoring threat all the time for Charlestown.
Well, certainly a decision now for Alan Flynn and his selectors Mickey Conroy and Cormac Rowland to make, because this man Paul Towie is on fire. Towie into Goldrick, goal chance, yes. Goal! Paddy Goldrick with a beautiful finish, but once again it was all about Paul Towie. He won the initial delivery, he delivered a peach of a pass, and Goldrick finishes in real style to put Charlestown in front, 1-4 to 1-1, and now game on.
Yeah, lovely finish by Paddy Goldrick in fairness to him, another good under 20 player. Towie did all the damage, but for me again, where Castlebar Mitchels are under pressure, they have no cover in defence. At 2-1-2, it looks like they'll call for pace back there, and that seems to be the way so far. Credit to Charlestown though, they've really pushed on since Mitchell's good start.
Mitchells haven't scored for 15 minutes, not since that Ethan Gibbons goal, and since then Charlestown have hit them for 1-3 without reply. This, of course, a Charlestown team that lost a 13-point lead here a couple of weeks ago at half-time against Belmullet, went on to lose the game. Also let a 5-point lead slip last weekend against Ballintubber, and they very nearly let that one slip into the back of the net. Kenneth Brennan, the most relieved man in the place, as he jumped and missed it and very nearly turned around to see it roll into the back of the net. It was flashes of Paddy Cullen back in the day, back in your day, Dick.
So just easy, Mike, easy now. That was looked like Gerard McLaughlin he went up with, and Callum Coyne, and the ball went over the three of them. The goal was wide open. It just happened to trickle the wrong side of the post. A couple of changes been made here, I'd say. Ray O'Malley, Sean Conlon is coming up the pitch, but Mitchells have to sort out their defence if they're going to, I suppose, play the attacking style of football that they want to play. They have to be sure that they do it on a platform of a rock solid defence, and that can't be said so far.
So a 45 to the Mitchells. It will be struck by Ethan Gibbons. He's got a ferocious belt of a ball. With Neil Douglas gone off, Gibbons taking over the freeze, but he has drilled that one away to the right and wide. I'd imagine any moment now we will have the water break, one of the new features of GAA in this COVID-19 world.
Yeah.
And there it is. Vinnie Neary gives the signal, and that gives us all just a chance maybe to catch our breath and gather our thoughts. We've played just over 19 minutes of the first half of what has been a rip-roaring opening round in the Connacht Gold Mayo County Senior Club Football Championship. And let's take a look at some of the highlights, Declan, from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, great turn of pace there. Ray O'Malley is a real threat for them. Up front, it's a two-man full forward line, but himself in particular, but he seems to be doing all the damage. He's got 3 points. Paddy Goldrick has got the 1-1.
Towie, I think, for a moment there, had a
Owen Riley and himself, and Donny Newcomer, I suppose, swip on over who's picking him up. But Towie seems to be getting that quick ball in for that middle third of Charlestown all the time, and that's their threat, that's their game plan, and it's working a treat for them, Mike.
Well, it's been easy to see at times, plenty of times in the first 19 or 20 minutes here, just why James Horan called Paul Towie into the Mayo senior squad after the under-20 campaign ended. And if he continues in this sort of form, Declan, we're going to see a lot more of Paul Towie in the weeks and months ahead.
I don't think there's any doubt about that whatsoever, Mike. If he came off now from this game, he's still going to be a county player, but he's really good. See the way he gets up for that ball there, he turns in, feeds it off to Goldrick, who finishes lovely. In fairness, that's a good finish. Rory Byrne is a good shot stopper, but that was all about Towie. It was about the quick ball, the quick delivery of the ball going in from Charlestown. Alan Flynn, couple of things. If he's talking to the players out that circle, the one thing he'll say is, where is the pressure on the ball in the middle third? And two, how are we conceding so much possession in the full back line? They're the issues that he needs to address.
We're off and running again. The water break has come and gone, and Charlestown trying to pick up where they left off as Patrick Lenihan gets this attack moving. Towie rolls it forward into the path of Jack Mahan, and now it's Charlestown who are playing with all the time in the world and all the confidence that they could have wished for. They're sitting very comfortably on a 3-point cushion, and it is the Mitchells who are having to do the chasing. That's a loose hand pass though, easy for Connor Stenson, Donny Vaughan, and now James Durkin. We know all about his pace as he tries to just move up through a gear there, or not allowed to accelerate too far though. Ball palm forward by Sean Conlon. Vaughan runs down a blind alley, but he's won a free, and Charlestown not one bit happy about that.
Not happy at all. It looked to me like Donny Vaughan might have had that ball actually lost before he got the free. It's one of those ones, 50-50, where the referee is about to give it. If he let it go another second, the ball was gone to ground, and Charlestown probably had it. Just one of those, I suppose, you could call it one of the soft variety frees.
So Mitchells and Donny Vaughan get the benefit of the doubt, and Jimmy Durkin hands the ball to Ethan Gibbons. He's kicked a few wides, he's kicked a few scores, and that one is right on target. That now brings Ethan Gibbons' personal tally to 1-1, and that, believe it or not, is Mitchell's first score for 19 minutes.
Yeah, and look, that's credit to Charlestown because they've dominated the game, and the reason Mitchells haven't scored is simply they haven't got the ball into the correct areas, and their decision making hasn't been up to scratch either.
So 2 points between them. Charlestown tipping along nicely in front. Kenneth Brennan's kick out again found its man. Parsons nice and quietly just keeping things ticking over in the middle of the field for Charlestown. Here's Jack Riley, nice ball. There's space and time on the far side for Conor O'Donoghue, wearing 5 but operating on that left wing. He's looking for Towie. Good solid tackle from behind by Donny Newcomb, just stole in to get a hand, and now Mitchells are on the front foot again. Remember, still playing with 14 out there. John Lawless watching the clock tick down in the sin bin. Ball is flicked forward by Paddy Durkin. Mitchells managed to keep this attack moving more or less in the right direction, although they have now to come back a little. Paddy Durkin once more, support from Stenson. But Mitchells, you can just sense at times, Declan, they're missing the creativity and the movement of Neil Douglas out there. Somebody that can just make something happen. This time, though, it was Gibbons to Durkin. There was a little tug on a jersey, free in.
Yeah, well, he's been the go-to man for the Mitchells over the last 5 or 6 years, Mike, so he's obviously a big loss here. But as I said when he came off, and I referenced it, at some stage it's up to the other players now to stand up to the mark and to get the scores. For too long, I think Castlebar Mitchells have relied on Neil Douglas. There are many other players on the pitch that can get scores as well, and that's what they're going to have to do here, and that's what they're going to have to see.
So once more, the responsibility is handed to Ethan Gibbons. So I'm playing with St. Gerald's College a few years ago. He was a brilliant college's player, and he is stepping up to the mark here now in this first half. In the absence of Neil Douglas, he's just stroked over another free. That's a goal and 2 for Gibbons, and the margin back to a kick of the ball with 24 minutes gone.
Yeah, hugely important scores there, both of them from Ethan that time, and he kicked them with real confidence.
Charlestown's kick out coming back at them just as quickly. Jimmy Durkin makes a break, just missed that crossfield ball, and sliding in to get it away was Ryan Duffy for Charlestown as Conor O'Donoghue sprints back, uses his pace to get there in front of Donny Vaughan, who's no slouch either. But Duffy did well. He had the head start on Vaughan, and now Gareth O'Donnell, the man who holds that Charlestown defence together. Very impressive against Ballintubber last weekend, even though he did play with a slight knock. Parsons again just keeps the ball moving, and the man on the ball is Niall Murphy. Forward to the other cornerback, Aidan Hopkins. Certainly, by and large, you'd imagine Martin Mulvaney, the Charlestown manager, and his selectors, Ginger Tiernan, Richard Wynne, Philip Finn, and of course Ronan Kenny, they'll be fairly happy with how things have gone so far. They are very much in this, and right now their team setting the pace. As speaking of which, Charlestown take all the pace out of this. They slow it right down. Mitchells have dropped 13 men back into their own half, all bar the wing forward Philip Ruddy, and they say to Charlestown, break us down if you're able.
Yeah, I don't think this suits Charlestown. I think they're going to get more scores by dropping the ball in quickly, but that time they just got caught, I suppose, out in the middle. But here they come right down to the middle. Gareth O'Donnell again.
They found the gap, and no better man than O'Donnell. Lovely sidestep by the wing forward Matthew Lenihan.
Good score.
He and his brother Patrick, well, they are causing plenty of problems for the Mitchells backline, and that time it was the wing forward who just, with a lovely step, like a rugby winger, he just cut away from the two defenders into the space and over the bar. His first score of the game, worth waiting for, and Charlestown 2 up.
Yeah, and as I said, it suited Charlestown to get the ball in quickly, but the sign of a very good team is if we can mix and mash it, and off the shoulder is really good as well. So Lennon, I suppose, the shimmy, the timing of the run and the point taken, really good score. Very important score for Charlestown that time.
Well, Mitchells, of course, on most people's shortlists to win the Moclair Cup, certainly to give Ballintubber a run for their money. But right now, Castlebar are getting their fill of it here from Charlestown.
I don't think Ballintubber is on the minds of any Castlebar man here, Mike. This is all about Charlestown and about getting out of here today with a result. Another score from Ethan Gibbons.
I was thinking more of the armchair experts deck, but I hear you. Ethan Gibbons kicks the score. Just keeps that scoreboard moving again. But I wonder what sort of odds you would have got on Charlestown to win this before a ball was kicked.
12-1, I think.
12-1.
I think so.
There's a man who knows his Galway from his Goodwood. Kick out from Kenneth Brennan. Picked up by Mitchells. Picked up by Philip Ruddy. Good hit just to knock the momentum out of that attack. Now Kirby. Short little pop pass to Stenson. Kirby again. Two Charlestown men hanging out of him, and Kirby has drawn the foul and won the free. And I'd imagine John Lawless is chewing iron down here in front of us. He must be ready to go back in. In fact, he has just gone back in. So Mitchels back up to the 15 once more, and they now have a free in after that good work by Danny Kirby.
Yeah, and Danny has had a quite enough game so far, and I think Mitchels will need Danny to step up to the mark as well, because by all accounts he's been going very well in training, and I suppose what they need him to do is drive through the middle as he did there. There was no doubt about that free. He was very direct. He was taken out by 2 or 3 Charlestown men. It looks like he wants to get into the game and get them going. He just hasn't really got going yet. So this is another one. Ethan Gibbons has already scored 1-3, Mike, according to my records. So this is another one for him maybe to notch up, which would be a great start for such a young man.
Well, Gibbons' frees are keeping Mitchels in touch here, and he's just done it again. But when they run hard, particularly down the middle of that Charlestown backline, they are winning frees. Vinny Neary is happy enough to give them, and Gibbons happy enough to kick them.
He is, and the conditions are lending themselves to backs giving away those type of frees, because as you've already said, it's really bucket and rain down. The underfoot conditions are very difficult, so I think it's suiting Mitchels to get that ball running off the shoulder.
The rain has been relentless now for the last 20 minutes or so. Still pouring down as another Charlestown kick out just breaks down. Mitchels are starting to put the squeeze on. They work it through to the substitute Callum Kine, and Kine nicks it in and over the bar. Now the umpires I don't think are on the same page, but a nod as good as a wink from the man on the right, and the man on the left waves the white flag, and the score stands. So how quickly things can change. Mitchell's coming with a bit of a burst, and Kine has just kicked his first.
Yeah, and we had a good view of that one. The angle was right. It just snuck in on the left hand post. But the water break came at a good time for the Mitchells. I think they were under real pressure that time, and they've pushed on since, Mike.
So 1-6 for the Mitchells, 1-5 for Charlestown as we tick towards stoppage time at the end of this first half, and Mitchell start to spend a bit more time inside the Charlestown half of the field. Jimmy Durkin takes that pass from a standing start, but builds up speed quickly. Again he goes down the middle, again he gets the nudge, and once more it's a free in, and it is starting now to become a pattern.
Yeah, and that's exactly the way it's happening for Castlebar. So they're getting the ball in around the D area. They seem to have a lot of ball there, and once they drive at that defence, Charlestown seem to be giving away a lot of fouls, and Mitchells will take those frees all day. This is Ethan's easiest free to date, I'd say, Mike.
Well, anybody who has seen Alan Flynn working with teams down through the years, from Tuam to Ballinrobe to Carlastrand to Clare, Kildare, Tuam Stars, they will tell you his teams are always so well physically prepared, so well organised, and they will have a game plan or two up their sleeve, and they have at the moment turned to the playbook that is really reaping dividends. They are running hard right down the middle of that Charlestown defence. They are drawing foul after foul, and Ethan Gibbons, with target practice, pops over another one to make it 1-7, 1-5, and Charlestown's lead, which at one stage was out to 3 points, has been fully wiped out. Mitchell's again, Sean Conlon, and he's dragged that shot across the goal and wide, but it just feels like now Charlestown need to hang on in there to get to half time.
Those Mitchells are putting the squeeze on, and particularly from the kickouts. They've won the last 3 kickouts, and maybe mistakes from the keeper, but Mitchells are stepping up to them now. Tom Parsons, as you said, was quietly efficient up to this. Tony Vaughan and himself are marking each other, but Parsons has been doing very well for Charlestown. If he's not on the ball in the middle, it looks like they struggle a bit. But Mitchells in the last 10 minutes since the water break have done much better. Lead by 2, 1-7, 1-5.
Well, Vinny Neary plays 1 minute of additional time. That's including the water break. So he's running a pretty tight ship out there. Doesn't play any additional time, really, to be honest. But he's the man with the stopwatch that counts. And at half time, it is the Mitchells who lead Charlestown by 1-7 to 1-5. Is that a fair enough reflection, Declan, of what we've seen? Or who's the happier heading in there at the break? Let's take another look at some of the best bits from the first half.
Yeah, Paul Towie, the main threat up front for Charlestown, no doubt about whatsoever. Now the goal that started off for the Mitchells, Paddy Durkin's point, and then Ethan Gibbons' goal. But Charlestown took over after that for 20 minutes, Mike. And since the water break, as we said, the Mitchells have really come into it around the middle third, in particular in the middle, squeezing up on those kickouts, and they've got a lot of dividends for them. And as you can see from here, I have Ethan Gibbons down for 1-5. A pattern has emerged of hard running down the middle, Charlestown coughing up some easy enough fouls, and Ethan Gibbons taking the frees.
Of course, early on though, Charlestown playing some really, really good football, and at one stage when Paddy Goldrick cracked in their goal, they were 3 points to the good, and at that stage Mitchels, they were under the cosh, Declan. They were being attacked from all angles, and Goldrick's goal, you'd have to say it was no more than Charlestown deserved.
Yeah, Towie does very well there for that. He cares about once the ball in front of two. A lovely hand pass, and Goldrick, as I said, Rory Byrne is a good shot stopper. A lovely finish, chipped him over and hit the back of the net. Really good finish. Charlestown looked good at that stage, Mike.
He would remind you there the way he took that of a young Sean Higgins or a young John Casey. But then in that second quarter, particularly after the water break, when Charlestown's momentum was broken with that stoppage, Castlebar just seemed to up it a gear or two.
Yeah, and momentum is a funny thing, and it's really important. It's a really important ingredient in a game of football. Charlestown had it gone into the water break. They could have done with playing on all the time. And what happened then was that Mitchels just regrouped. Now, you'd have to say Mitchels are the much more experienced team here, so they regrouped and they thought to themselves, let's have a cut at this. And as I said, the last 10 minutes have been all about Castlebar.
So we're watching this second quarter now where Castlebar Mitchels came more into it. And Kevin Dignan, I'm sure you were delighted with how things have been going up to Paddy Goldrick's goal. This sort of football from the Mitchells, not as easy on the eye from a Charlestown perspective.
No, I think as you said already, Mike, the water break came at the wrong time for Charlestown. We had momentum. Now we did start a bit early in the come out of the water break, but Castlebar have recouped again and knocked on a few scores and put themselves in a good position. Charlestown, got Paul Howie started well. We took a while to settle the first 10 minutes. I think our defenders weren't sure who was picking up who, but once we settled, we got to grips with their attackers and started moving well, Mike. As I said, just the water break came at the wrong time. Hopefully they can recoup and come out strong in the second half.
Daigo, you shared plenty of dressing rooms down the years with the likes of Martin Mulvaney and Ginger Tiernan. What's the message going to be from them at half-time, given the state of play now? Charlestown gone 2 behind.
I think there'd be calmness in there. Like, they're in a good position at the moment, 2 points down. They have given away some soft balls, taking balls into tackles, Mike. You know, it's a greasy, wet conditions out there. They have to move the ball into Paddy Lynn and Paul Howard. They're doing the damage in there. Castlebar aren't playing a sweeper, so you know, it's a one-on-one situation. If they get the quality ball in there, you know, they will do damage. And I don't think there'll be any shouting and roaring in there. They're in the position they want to be going into the second half. Castlebar have lost Dougie as well, so that'll be a help. So hopefully, you know, they can kick on in the second half.
Colum Gannon, the sports editor of the Mayo Advertiser, is joining us as well. Colum, we're just watching some of the highlights from the first half. What stands out for you? What have you taken from what we've seen so far?
The main thing is we've probably seen it's been a game of the water break. I think played really against Charlestown. They had momentum and they were well up, and then when they came back after it, Castlebar took over. I suppose Charlestown's in discipline as well. Like Ethan Gibbons has scored 5 points from frees, like, so, you know, and he's been deadly from the close range, and especially there in the second quarter, he was tapping them over. The two inside for Charlestown in the first quarter, especially Paul Towie and Patrick Lennon, were giving Castlebar serious problems. And I think if they can keep that up, they'll cause them problems again. But Mitchells have copped on to that. The Charlestown, I suppose, they took advantage of having the extra man for 10 minutes. Like, you know, they scored a goal. They probably should have scored another goal as well. If they got that, they could have, you know, really had their tails up. But I think Castlebar's experience is probably shown in the last few minutes, like their ability to win frees and tap them over, and that's got them back into this game. But like, I think it's still there for Charlestown. If they can if they can come back into us like they did play in the first quarter, they're thereabouts the end.
You mentioned there the black card for John Lawless, and when you factor that in, plus the fact that Neil Douglas had to go off so early with what looked like a tweak of the hamstring, I mean, Alan Flynn must be absolutely delighted to go from being 3 points down and playing so poorly to going in at half-time 2 up, despite a couple of bits of misfortune as well.
Yeah, he has to be, like, you know, and I suppose this is a big game for Alan. This is his first game with Castlebar in charge. Things didn't look to be going well in the first quarter. I suppose we saw just before Newman Toffee came over and had a word with them, and he stayed on for 2-3 minutes, and he made a run that he just wasn't going at full pelt for. I suppose they're going precaution, like, you know, get him off. And I suppose with the 14 men, they did struggle, but they managed to get back into it. The water break helped them. It got them to get their, like, you know, their reorganise their defence, because the two lads inside for Charlestown were causing serious problems for them throughout that sort of 7 minutes that they were down to 14 players.
Kevin Dignan, before we let you go, I must ask you about the subs bench, or what sort of impact Charlestown might have there. Obviously Colum May was kept in reserve. There are a few good young footballers on the bench as well, and there's A golden oldie, Aidan Higgins, 45 years of age. Are we likely to see Aidan Higgins play in what we're led to believe might well be his 27th season of senior championship football?
You never say never with Aidan Higgins. That's the nature of the man. Looking at the bench there, I suppose a couple of options they may have is to move Niall maybe up into the forwards, depending how the game is going, or if it's getting away from Charlestown. You have Tommy Meek and Paddy Welch, they could slot into defence there. They have options, you know what I mean. I know Patrick Goldrick is picking up Paddy Durkin at the moment. He's doing a bit of damage. Maybe they might look at maybe trying to get someone like Garrett maybe on Paddy to try and hold him back a small bit. They have options. Joe McBride is another option there inside if Paddy Linehan maybe had to come out the field. But it'll all depend on the first 10 minutes, like how Charlestown, if they can get themselves back into the game and stay with Castlebar. If Charlestown are in a position that last 10 minutes, that's where they want to be, you know. So, yeah, we'll wait and see how it all pans out.
So, in summary, your message to the Charlestown people watching in, keep the faith?
Keep the faith.
Kevin Duggan, thanks very much for coming up to talk to us, to join us just before we take a break here at half time ourselves. Colum Gannon, your final thoughts for now. Are you seeing anything at this moment other than a Mitchels win?
I can see if Charlestown. One thing Charlestown, I think they've struggled in the last minutes was their kickouts too. Castlebar started dominating around the middle of the park on the Charlestown kickouts, and they won a lot of frees from that. So they're going to have to get on top of that very, very quickly if they're going to get back into it. But as I said, the two boys like Linehan and Towie inside have been causing serious problems. They've created two very good goal chances, taken one. If they can do that again, get another goal, it'll be vital in this. And if the weather, as we saw in the first half, it's dried up now, but a bit. But if the weather in the first half comes up, it could be very slippy. We saw Castlebar nearly got in for a goal where Kenny Brennan came out for the ball and he went through his hands. Things like that can happen. So Castlebar are the favourites, but it's still there for Charlestown to keep going.
Colum Gannon, thanks very much for joining us as well. You'll have seen there just a moment ago a quick snapshot of some of the supporters who have braved the elements to watch this game from the uncovered terrace, shall we say, on the far side of the field. I'm sure creatures of habit, they like to watch the games from their usual spots, rain or no rain. Don't forget as well, coming up a little bit later on this evening, the county champions Ballintubber at home to Ahamore in their first round game, live from Clogher at 7 o'clock. But we've got a fair bit of sorting out to do here as well ourselves, you'd imagine, heading into the second half. Declan O'Reilly, I mean, on the face of it, it looks like Mitchels now are in the ideal position. They've withstood and they've weathered that Charlestown blitz. They've gone from a position where they were 3 down to 2 up, and it looks like everything is perfectly poised to kick on and win this, particularly when you factor in how poor Charlestown have been in the second half of their last couple of Michael Welch games. But are you seeing anything here that might just ruin that script, that might just throw up a surprise or two?
Yeah, there's always a concern, and in particular the way the full forward line for Charlestown are playing. Towie and Lennon, Towie in particular is a real threat, but I think Castlebar would be very disappointed with the first 20 minutes, but not unexpected. You're coming here today to take on Charlestown, first championship game since the untimely death of Colum Harkin. There was going to be an emotional affair. Charlestown are certainly going to throw everything that they have at it. They have some very, very good young players. We've talked about them already. You've said it, and I would have thought it. I'm not sure if Charlestown can see out a full 65 to 70 minutes. If it's Vincent Erie, then it's 61 or 62. But I know that Alan Flynn had his fellas during lockdown on intensive individual programs, and I know that they were checking one another rigorously to see what they're doing, and word back is that they're all in really good shape. The fitness levels won't be a problem. I think this first 10 minutes for Charlestown in particular, if they're going to see out the game and see it through, they're going to have to really give everything that they have here, because Mitchels look like if they can win that ball, in particular squeezing up on the kickouts and put them under pressure, which means that the full forward line for Charlestown is null and void. That means that I think Castlebar, I think they'll be happy enough. I think they'll be happy enough after a poor 15, 16, 17 minutes. I think they would have concentrated on the positives of the last 10, and I think they'll be hoping to push on. And I think you can see Castlebar Mitchels give it everything here for the first 10 minutes, Mike. And this is where Charlestown are going to have to hang on.
Dick, I think a combination of us enjoying ourselves too much and Alan Flynn getting Mitchels back out on the field very quickly, it has spoiled our plans to break for a half-time cup of tea.
Yeah, we'll just have to have that afterwards. But I think we'll manage, Mike. We've had enough tea.
Let's keep the meter running. That's how I look at it. Yeah,
absolutely. That's no problem. So Mitchells are out first. I don't think Mitchells would want to have dwelled too much on that first half. I'd say Alan Flynn, when he got the lads in the huddle for that water break right in front of us there, Mike, I would have said, lads, I would have thought he said, okay, that's the dirty petrol out of the system now. And I think they all would agree that they can play better than that. That's not to be in any way disrespect for the Charlestown. Charlestown were fully in control of that game. But Mitchells would fancy themselves as that blend of youth and experience that they have out there to push on a bit from there. They did that. Half time actually came at the wrong time from Castlebar and the right time for Charlestown. Charlestown have a chance to regroup, but Castlebar will fancy this now in the first 10 minutes, and I think you're going to see them giving everything that they have here.
Dick, can I ask you, as a man who was joint manager when Mitchells won a Eau Clare, went on to play in an All-Ireland club final, I think there's 7 of them out there starting today that would have played in that All-Ireland final. Can you give us maybe an insight into the mindset, like when that Mitchells group go in there at half time and assess what's just happened and get reset for the second half?
Yeah.
Who's likely to be doing the talking, and what's likely to be the mindset as they come out for the second half?
They're experienced. That's the big thing about them, is that they're experienced bunch of lads. And what we're looking at is the likes of Donny Newcombe, the likes of Owen Riley, the talkers in there, Danny Kirby, Paddy Durkin and James Durkin. And I think they've gone well beyond the case of talking for the sake of talking. They'll know the points to address, they'll make the right calls, and they'll believe in themselves. They would have said that they've got out of a lot of tight corners in the past, which they have. A couple of good tight scrapes in different types of championship matches, both within and with outside the county. And I think they believe in themselves. And the younger fellas will look to the older guys and the experienced guys for expertise and for inspiration. And that just might happen, Mike.
So the second half gets underway. Mitchells, who have won 4 of the last 7 county senior titles and looking to get back onto their perch again in 2020, will they start this second half with a 2-point advantage? Charlestown, they'll play from right to left as they try to produce a big second half, something they haven't been able to do yet since football resumed competitively a couple of weeks ago. We mentioned it earlier here a fortnight ago. Charlestown 13 points up at half time against Belmullet in the Michael Welch Secondary League and ended up losing the game as the Mitchells hold possession. Thankfully the rain has disappeared as the Mitchells do a very good job in finding their way through. Jimmy Durkin on the end of the move, and he swings it up and over the bar. That touch of inter-county class there from James Durkin, all too obvious, and the Mitchells ease into a 3-point lead.
Yeah, and that's the first point from James Durkin, and again they'll be hoping to get more out of James because he has that lightning pace, and I don't think they're going to revert away from the plan, Mike, which is hit that D with the runners, force the foul from Charlestown. If they're not fouled, kick the ball over the bar as James did there. I think the Charlestown boys will be told don't give away the silly fouls, but that opens up the opportunity from scores from play, and that's exactly how it played out in the first 2 minutes.
Just one other half-time score to give you from Ballandine. At the moment it is Davits leading Moy Davits 6 points to 5 as Mitchells come again, attacking now in waves as Charlestown are just struggling to get to grips with all of those Castlebar runners. Jimmy Durkin again with the little snapshot, but good pressure by Aidan Hopkins, who just dived across to put pressure on the shooter, and that tails away and wide. Mitchells have made a change for this second half. David Stenson, wearing number 20, who may be just in your picture there for a moment, he is into the Mitchells attack, and it's Philip Ruddy rather, who has made way. So both Stenson brothers now on the field for Mitchells.
Yeah, David's a very experienced player, would have played a lot of football over the last number of years, especially would have had some really good games against Corofin in a couple of Connacht finals, got some vital scores. So an experienced player, was in Australia over the Christmas, came back early to play football.
He's gone straight into the full forward line right now, paired up in there with Callum Kine as Gavin Durkin threads this ball through towards Kine, manages to get there in front of Conor O'Donoghue. Nice little pop pass to Ethan Gibbons, the first half goal scorer. Here's Kirby, who just stayed up front, kind of hanging around looking for a pass on the edge of the Charlestown defence, but that shot from Danny Kirby just screwed off his boot. That's a couple of chances Mitchells have missed, but first 3 minutes of this second half they have set up camp inside the Charlestown half,
as we thought they would, and I think that was their plan, to push on from there. They would have felt that they finished the first half strong, which they did, but as I said, Charlestown, if they're going to remain in this game, have got to get to grips with the kick out in particular.
Kenneth Brennan, his father Thomas kept goal for Charlestown for many years back in the 90s. Kenneth rather, keeping Paul Mulligan out of the Charlestown goal this evening. Paul Mulligan rather has to be content with a place on the bench as Tom Parsons gets the ball in his hands and just makes a few hard yards. He's got support outside from Jack Mann. Ball popped ahead, but plenty of Mitchell's men all sweeping across at the one time. One of them was Ray O'Malley, and O'Malley, who has been around the block as well, just read that well. One is free and nice and neatly just keeps Mitchell's moving in the right direction. Paddy Durkin across to Danny Kirby. Into Durkin again.
Danny's coming more into it in the second half, Mike. Just at the end of the first half, finished well. They want him to be going well.
Danny Kirby, so much big game experience, helping the likes of this man, Connor Stenson, who's still very much finding his feet at senior championship level. As across comes Conor O'Donoghue, and he does well. The Charlestown wing back bent his back, got his free. But the longer this second half wears on, the more you realise Charlestown need to get motoring again now. They need a score just to stem the tide and get back in touch. They've fallen 3 behind. Cornerback Niall Murphy to Hopkins. Push in the back and a foul. But once Mitchells get time to reorganise that defence, Declan, and reset, they are very, very capable. And I see Owen O'Reilly now sweeping as well in front of Towie and Lenihan.
Yeah. So they've addressed that situation, and that was the problem for the first 20 minutes. And in fairness to the management team, they spotted that and they've just dropped Owen. They let the centre forward go and dropped Owen back, and I think that'll work well for them, because Towie is the main threat here. I know Lennon has played well, but if they can stop the ball going into Towie, who, as we've already talked about, is a really, really top class player, then Charlestown's threat is not as strong as it would be.
10 minutes now either side of half time since Charlestown last scored. It seems a lot longer. Just finding it more difficult, as Declan said, to find Patrick Lenihan and Paul Towie in that full forward line, with Owen O'Reilly sweeping in front of them and his colleagues out the field applying much more pressure on the Charlestown ball carriers, as Ray O'Malley goes right down the centre and he's allowed advance. Nice delivery into Kine. Fine block by Jerry McLaughlin, the Charlestown fullback, who read Kine's movements, threw himself down on the ball and prevents what looked like a certain score.
Yeah, great block from Jerry McLaughlin. Callum Kine has been on the scene for the last 2 or 3 years, trying to make his way onto the senior team. A great man to come out and win a ball. What he needs to, I suppose, to add a few strings to his bow is that he's looking to get more scores in general play. He's got one already in the first half, but credit to Jerry McLaughlin, that was a great block that time. So this is Ethan again.
So a 45 to the Mitchells, and Ethan Gibbons, who can kick comfortably off both feet, and that is some connection with his right, but again just didn't manage to direct it onto the target. But he's got a very uncomplicated run up, and he has got some right boot on it.
He has, and it's a great skill to be able to kick from the hands and from the ground from both feet. You don't see many players being able to do that.
I'm not quite sure his dad Russell could.
He could kick it. The problem is you didn't know where the ball was going to go, Mike.
Kick out from Kenny Brennan. They're looking for Parsons, but finding it harder to pick him out now, as Donny Vaughan is getting tighter and getting more physical, and just jostling him out from under that dropping ball.
Just grown into the game, just grown nice and steady into the game, and Mitch is bossing that middle third at the moment. And as we said, if Charlestown cannot get the ball into the full forward line, then they're in real trouble.
Owen O'Reilly just dodging and weaving his way around a few tackles. Sean Conlon, All-Ireland Under-21 winner a couple of years ago, and I think he knew himself there, Sean Conlon, that he'd overcarried that ball. He just threw his head in the air in frustration. A promising looking Mitchell's move breaks down, and Charlestown now with a chance to build from the back. Parsons over to Conor O'Donoghue. We're still in the early stages of this second half, but the tide has most certainly turned, and there again they were looking for Towie, but Donny Newcombe and company, they've got to grips with the Charlestown attack the longer this game has worn on, and that is another move that breaks down, and now Paul Towie is being spoken to by the referee, and that's pure and utter frustration, Dick, isn't it?
That's exactly what it is, but maybe in conjunction with a small bit of tiredness, but frustration more than anything else, where he gave away a silly foul. A yellow card is enough. I suppose Mitchell's support is looking for a black, but I think out of frustration, a yellow, you take that.
Charlestown, they won't need reminding either. They didn't score for the last half an hour against Ballintubber last weekend. They do have a tendency to go out of games, to lose their concentration. And as this second half wears on now, they're starting to do more and more defending. Jimmy Durkin, though, unable to make that ball stick. Plenty of Charlestown men back this time, minding the house. One of them was Gareth O'Donnell. Wanted to take the free quickly, wanted to get on with the game. Vinnie Neary instead ushers him backwards, and now O'Donnell will take it away to the far side to Ryan Duffy, trying his best to link defence and attack. He was looking for big Patrick Lenihan, but beaten for pace. And once more, Mitchells just break up that Charlestown attack at their leisure, and here they come again. Last year's beaten county semi-finalists, of course, Castlebar Mitchels, knocked out of the championship by Ballahadreen, who then went on to lose the county final themselves to Ballintubber. Conlon, Stenson, and a nice ball to his brother. Connor to David, trying to cut inside. There's a dummy run or two being made to open up the space. Parsons is there, getting tight and physical on Stenson. Kirby across to help. Parsons is in again, but Kirby had moved that ball on just in the nick of time to John Lawless, the man who's joined the Mitchells from Nafiana. Here's Connor Stenson again. Sean Conlon has moved forward. There's a lot of movement ahead of him. Jimmy Durkin gets there just in front of Jerry McLaughlin, but his pace and the slippery underfoot conditions took Jimmy Durkin out across the end line with the ball, with a little bit of help from Jerry McLaughlin.
Yeah, now conditions are treacherous, but Jerry came sliding in. He got in under the legs of Jimmy, and I suppose there was a hand up for a shout for a penalty. On another day, it could have been given.
I think if it happened down the road in Balahi at the home of Charlestown Athletic, you might have seen a penalty given, all right. But Vinnie Neary is in one of those moods, Deck. I think he wants to sit back and let it flow as much as it can.
He does, and in fairness, so far so good. It's been working well that way, Mike.
Ryan Duffy attacking up that right hand side. One man to aim at up front. It's big Paddy Lenihan. Out comes Rory Byrne, member of the county senior panel, gets the two fists behind it. Only succeeds though in knocking it to Paddy Goldrick, and that is now a goal and two for the Charlestown number 17, Goldrick, and that is Charlestown's first score since the 26th minute of the first half. So it ends a barren spell of just over a quarter of an hour.
Yeah, and that's a very important score, and even though Castlebar will on top, there's still only a 2-point game here. There's Paddy Durkin on the burst.
1-8 plays 1-6. Durkin in full flight, but he just delayed the shot, and that allowed the cover to get across, and that is a very good chance, an opportunity for the Mitchells that has come and gone, and it remains 2-point game.
I think he was caught between two minds. He was looking to offload. He wasn't sure would he pass or shoot. He fell between the two stools. Credit to Charlestown, a great defensive block.
Man here using his pace is Jack Mahan, trying to use his strength as well to hold off Donny Newcomb, but Newcomb is as tight and as tenacious as they come, and he's given away the free there. He felt there was not a whole lot wrong with the way he was tackling, but they were joined at the hip, and Jack Mahan gets the benefit of the doubt.
Warren, in fairness, Vincent here gave a couple of frees to Castlebar in the first half for something similar, so I don't think there can be any complaints with that free. Now this is from a difficult angle. This is a big kick.
And Paul Towie has gone all the way across to take a look at it. There's no doubt he has it in his locker, all right. He's kicked, even in the last 12 months, he's kicked spectacular scores for club and county, and he's just kicked another one. Well, when you're talking about Towie, you really shouldn't underestimate him. He is capable of scoring from everywhere or anywhere outside of the right, Kieran McDonald style. Slices it over. 1-8 plays 1-7, and Charlestown slowly and surely starting to reel Mitchells back in again.
I'd say it's Paul Towie's down, Mike, because he's well capable to stand up for himself. That's a great score. We talked about the underfoot conditions and how difficult they are, but he had real confidence in himself. That outside of the right boot kick in those conditions is a real tough skill set to see through, but he did it, and he did it absolutely. He as soon as he kicked it, he knew it was a point. Great score.
Well, Matthew Lenihan here is in a spot of trouble. Yellow card for the Charlestown number 12. And again, I think some of the Mitchell supporters who were lucky enough to get a ticket and are here at Father O'Hara Park, they would have been happier with a slightly different colour deck.
They would have been, but that's the nature of supporters, I suppose. I'd be happy enough that was a yellow.
Rory Byrne comes out to sweep and give it to Sean Conlon. Here's Kirby. Charlestown now just getting a little too close for comfort for Mitchells. Castlebar in the early stages of this second half bossing the game, but not putting quite enough scores on the board, and now all of a sudden it's back to a 1-point game again as Mitchels play keep ball. We are 13 and a half minutes into the second half, and Charlestown hanging on in there as Paddy Durkin knocks it across. This is John Lawless. Nice turn of foot from the Mitchels corner back. Gavin Durkin holds that ball out, got his head up all right, but succeeds only in finding the Charlestown sweeper Ryan Duffy. Easily cuts that ball out, but just as quickly as they won it back, Charlestown have given it away again.
Yeah, two mistakes there, one from either side, which brings Castlebar back to square one, ball in the middle of the park. They should be comfortable enough holding this ball here, waiting for the opportunity to arise.
Nice pop pass from Danny Kirby in front of Ethan Gibbons. Bounces off the first defender. Gibbons winds up, shoots on sight, and that is away to the left. Another wide for the Mitchells. Another missed chance.
Yeah, Mitchells, as I said, first 10 minutes all over them, but they haven't kicked away on the scoreboard. Charlestown really very much in this game here. We talked about Neil Douglas going off, Mike, and where the score is going to come from. Now we've scored 1-8, and Ethan Gibbons has got 1-5 of that.
Certainly Ethan Gibbons is doing pretty much all of the heavy lifting up front for Mitchells this evening. Most of his colleagues out there, certainly the vast majority of them, have 4 county senior championship medals. They've got a couple of Connacht club championship medals as well, but they're finding it difficult to get into a consistent rhythm up front.
There's a man down, I think it's Gavin Durkin, is it?
It looks like Gavin Durkin who is receiving attention. That will give everybody a chance to take a break here. The water break is coming in a couple of minutes as well. And if we were to take stock, Declan, at this stage, what have we learnt from the third quarter so far?
I think what we've learned is Castlebar started off as we thought that they would. They I suppose, in possession terms and in territory terms, they had all the ball. They didn't score as much as they'd like to would, I suppose, as they thought they might, or as they'd hoped for, which left Charlestown very much in the game. Charlestown, when they attack, look very dangerous. Paul Towie is still very, very much a handful. So what we've learned, Mike, is that this game is in the mix and it's up for grabs for anybody.
Well, Gavin Durkin is going to have to leave the field here. Looks like he's got a cut on his head. Speaking of things we've learned in the third quarter, that stoppage there just giving me a chance to catch a glimpse of linesman John Glavey, who's got a championship haircut for the occasion, looking very dapper. And is that a pair of Davits tracksuit bottoms I see on Mickey Conroy? You can take the man out of Davits, but not the Davits tracksuit off the man, obviously. As Gavin Durkin is helped from the field, he'll have to be patched up, and in comes number 21, Fergal Durkin, man who delivered a real tour de force down in Cong a couple of weeks ago in the Michael Welch League. Obviously word got back to Alan Flynn that he was moving well, with the Mitchells senior and intermediate squads training together as well. Fergal Durkin has caught the manager's eye, and he's in to show him what he can do with about 14 minutes to go. Danny Kirby had it, lost it, and that was really well done by the cornerback Niall Murphy. Very versatile. He can play up front, he can play in the half back line, and he can also put the hits in and turn over a man of Kirby's ability. But that's another loose ball forward by Charlestown. After all that hard work, they've given away possession again. Kine in front of David Stenson. Chasing back there is the Charlestown sub who's just come in, Alan Woods, wearing number 26. He's trying to put from Vaughan, and that score where he first score of the match. We mentioned earlier it's his first competitive game of football since that point. Just 1-9 was a big
panning out in the fine score. Charlestown have the ball now though.
They go long. Jack Riley, O'Reilly and Sean Conlon. Impressive back, and to get the ball have become past masters at doing that, just getting the ball away and up the field.